Hello, my name is Thalia Micah. Welcome to the Institute of Integrative Health Specialists. Today we have a special guest for you, Dr. Guangming Li. We are having a conversation about annotations of acupuncture sites. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I think it would be helpful for you to get familiar with some aspects of a Chinese language, especially the writing system.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the Chinese language, although all language or many languages that we are familiar with, we use in the West, in the East, in other countries, they all have writing systems, right? Yeah, but the Chinese writing system is somewhat different, and what makes the Chinese writing system different is not just because the visual representations are different.
Yes.
But also the relationship between the phonetic, the sound, and the visual representation and the meaning. The relationship between these three is interesting.
Right.
Yeah. Because the Chinese language, basically it's a syllabic language, meaning actually a writing system. It's one character, one syllable.
Okay.
Right. But the Chinese language consists of a lot of homophonic words.
Okay.
Meaning words were syllables of different meanings.
Right.
But they sound the same.
Right.
So really, because of that, so the visual representation is very important in terms of identify or determine the actual meaning of the utterance. So the writing is very, very important. So for anyone to understand the meaning of an utterance, often, of course, there's other contextual factors that may define the meaning. But even that, it would be very helpful, for you or for us or for people to know the characters so they can be specific, understand each other, what they mean, what you're trying to say and what the other party is trying to say. So
in school we had a professor, he would, try to explain what the characters mean. And I always remember the word bai, which means eight, right? B-A-I, but it could also mean white, depending on how you say it. Bai.
Oh, you mean the tone? Yes. Yes,
so
right.
It was always interesting to me. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But the tonal aspect is important. Again, there's words. Their sounds are exactly the same in terms of a syllable and a tonal contour. Okay. This is one kind of situation. At the same time, there are different words of different sounds, but they use the same character. Yeah. So that makes the whole thing more complex. So the point is to make sure about the meaning of utterance.
Right.
Especially when you let's say utter a monosyllabic word in Chinese, especially actually the monosyllabic words are the ancient morphological whatever the Chinese language. Nowadays most of the Chinese words are disyllabic words, but the ancient Chinese words mostly, except probably one or two or something like that, from as far as I know, disyllabic words. Most of them, they're monosyllabic words.
Right.
So to be sure, okay, let's say Wang, right, or let's say a common last name in terms of sound, Zhang, right? When you go to elementary school,
right,
and the teacher asks you, "Hey, what's your last name?" It's, "Oh, my name is Zhang." Yes, Zhang. Yeah, there's a commonly there's a two. Okay, they ask you which one.
Right.
Yeah. 弓长张 or 立早张, then you have to specify.
Right.
Then they know, oh, okay. So if you say, 张, well, there's so many 张 where, there's
Right. Right.
Yeah, so that's the thing that make the writing is important in terms of communication. So basically, commonly people say there's 6 ways or 6 categories of making Chinese characters. But actually, also I've seen there's other theory, but I agree. Actually, there's 5. That the 6th one is actually a kind of about the usage of the characters. So the 5, let's say, that easily understandable or intelligible are the 象形字、指示字、会意字、形声字 and 假借字. Translated into English, the 象形字 is a pictographic, meaning it's just a sketch, an image, right? And 指示 is a sort of indicative. In a way, my understanding is it's like an abstract, more abstract picture.
Right.
Yeah. And then 会意 meaning associative compound characters, meaning this, the character consists of individual, independent characters. Put them together, meaning something different else. From the original but related. 形声字 there's different translations. Some translated phonetic or phonetic graphic. I would prefer that ideographic because really the part of that expresses not actually the picture. Commonly, especially today, I mean in modern Chinese, it's a concept. Right. It's a concept, and then there's a part that ideophonetic. The phonetic refers to the part that contributes to the sound. Okay, and then 假借字 meaning as you already understand, there's a lot of homophonic words, right? So sometimes when we utter something, when we express some new ideas, we utter it, but we don't necessarily have the character. Right. But we have characters, for other words of the same sound. Then the people, may borrow the characters of other words to represent the new word.
Is that what kind of like pinyin is? Or something totally
no, pinyin is a composite of different alphabets.
Oh, okay.
But this is a character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
Yeah,
okay.
It's different.
So there's no character in pinyin.
Well, no. Pinyin is alphabets. Yeah, this is a pinyin. This is pinyin. Yeah, for the characters.
In order to explain the meanings of these characters, he's just trying to explain what kinds of characters there are. Sometimes they may be pictographic, sometimes they might be meaning, but they mean something else.
Okay.
So you can't just take the character for granted.
For granted.
Like, well, this means a lamp.
Okay.
It's like so.
Because that's usually how it's presented to us. Or you see this house, it means this. I'm like, well, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
What if I see another house somewhere else? Does it mean the same thing?
Yeah. So because of this nature of the Chinese language, so create a visual representation of a word is not something, random or, to a certain extent, maybe, but for the most part, it is an outcome of, it's an intellectual effort in a way. Okay. You have to think, what is the actual meaning that the sound, the sound is to represent or to convey. And since there's so many words sounding the same, so to specify, indicate, the meaning of a certain, a verbal sound in certain, let's say, linguistic or whatever context, then you have to figure out a way to define that, to enable people to identify, to be sure, right? As the example that I gave it to you, yes, the two students, both, their last name is the same, Zhang in sound, but you cannot just say, Mr. Zhang, we're Mr. Zhang. They're all Zhang, but which one, right? Yeah, so, things like that. So, so in that case, so if you want to understand, let's say in Chinese medicine, acupuncture practice, when you read those names of acupuncture points, because myself, I'm not an expert in that regard.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm not, analyze all those acupuncture points, against the actual meaning of the those points. But in principle, if you understand the meaning of those characters, of those names, might help you understand, the functionality of that point, maybe the cultural or history and so on and so forth.
I agree.
Yeah. So, because when they write that words down, they think.
Right.
Right. How to convey or define the meaning.
Right.
They don't just borrow any words, any characters. Right. And also because these what do you call it, the characteristic of the writing system. Also, when you read the Chinese names of those points, you should be aware of these categories of creating Chinese characters. Because sometimes if the word is borrowed, if the character is borrowed, it may not represent what really the sound means. You will see very clearly, you will understand.
Yeah.
Because,
I'm in awe.
So it's actually, I tell you this because I found it's very interesting.
I am in awe.
Yeah, very interesting.
Because we didn't learn it that way, and we didn't even learn the pinyin. We only learned
I understand that.
numbers,
Yeah,
so
I understand that, yes.
Wow, okay.
And actually this, without asking you whether that's what you want, I thought that would be interesting to you.
Yes,
and would be helpful.
Do you see my face? I'm like, yes. Tell me more.